Yes, what is happening? Welcome to the channel, and today we are going to be talking about expectations versus reality when it comes to getting into shape, and particularly when it comes to getting into shape as a natural and someone that has got an extremely busy life as well, which we all do. Do you know what I mean? You hear it a lot, busy professionals, everyone's in that fucking bracket, everyone's busy. But yeah, this is what today's video is going to be all about. It's going to be about why people think it's actually easier than it actually is, why you get lied to on social media as well, talking about how easy this can be when actually it takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes effort. Also as well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, hit the like. If you don't like it, don't hit the like. Any comments would be greatly appreciated. Any subscribes would be greatly appreciated. Let's jump into the video. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to jump into expectations. So I've brought them up on the screen here for you guys to have a look at. And the first thing that I want to talk about is people expect that you can just go to the gym for a few days and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing massive changes in your body. And you see this so often where people are like, lose X amount of pounds in 20 days, all this kind of shite. But we get fed it so much, and like everything now, in media, social media, is quick fixes, quick ways of getting shit done, when actually this does take time. It does take consistency. It takes a level of, what's the word I'm looking for here? It just takes a level of commitment is what I'm looking for. You've got to commit to the process, and if you get frustrated because you're not looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger after a few days, then you really do need a reality check. So one of the biggest things when it comes to getting in shape, and the reason people struggle to get in shape, is number 2 on this list, and that is that people absolutely nail it Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, and then completely go off the wagon at the weekend. And people think that you're going to be able to do that every week and get into the shape that you want to get into. And the thing is, people at weekends, they'll have their slight calorie deficit all week. They'll start losing body fat, the scales, the weight will start to come down, and then at the weekend, they'll just completely toss it off. Everything will go out the window. They end up eating a surplus of 4,000 calories over the weekend, and then they wonder why they never get anywhere. And the thing is, they'll moan and they'll complain, but the reality is they actually know. They know what the problem is. And I'm not saying you have to live your life like a monk. I certainly don't live my life like a monk. But I know when I've got events coming up. I know if I've got something coming up. And what you can do is you can actually plan around it, move things around, and then still make progress. But at the end of the day, you've got to be holding yourself accountable. In most cases, people know exactly why they're not losing body fat. But also as well, if you are looking to put muscle on, you've got to make sure you're in that calorie surplus as well. But a lot of cases, when it comes to losing fat, they know exactly why it's not happening, and usually it's what's going down at the weekend or when you're off shift in a lot of cases too. So expectation number 3 is something that comes from what gets spoken about a lot on social media. Now, if you go and have a look at most coaches' bios, it will say, get into the shape of your life without giving up the foods you love. I'm here to tell you that that is utter bollocks. What they are actually saying is, you can lose body fat while eating the foods that you absolutely enjoy and love to have, as long as you're in a calorie deficit. And on paper, that is true. You can lose body fat. But if you ever had just a little bite of chocolate and not wanted more, the dopamine hasn't exploded and that's it, you want more. For me personally, and most of my clients, when you have these kind of foods, it does just trigger something that makes you want more. So have a period of time, 8-week, 12-week, where it's like, right, I'm going to avoid these foods that I love, and I'm just going to commit to having single ingredient foods, good quality foods. Again, I don't expect people to be perfect, but if you can do this and actually give up them foods that you quote unquote love, and when I'm talking about the foods you love, I'm talking more about, your pizzas, your sweets, your chocolate, all that kind of stuff, you will get better results. That's the absolute reality of the situation. So when all these people are saying you can get in shape without giving up the food you love, they're talking utter bollocks, and usually it's just to buy you into their program like they've got some kind of secret, when really they don't. So the next expectation is that it's going to be easy. I'm here to tell you now that getting into shape is not easy. It doesn't just take willpower, it takes commitment, it takes focus, it takes organisation, it takes drive, it takes going to the gym when you don't really want to, it takes eating foods that you don't really want to eat when really you want to have a binge. And that is not spoken about enough. You know, you can live a life, you don't have to live a life, you can still go places, you can still do things, but when you're not doing the things that you need to do to keep you moving forward with your goals, you're not going to get there. And people, again, a lot of this is through social media, will make it out, it's dead easy, follow this 3-step plan. It's not. It's not. On paper, it's easy. On paper, it's simple. But when people's minds get involved, when people have extremely busy lives, it's not easy. So don't get bought into this notion and this utter bollocks that getting into shape is easy, because if it was easy, then everyone would be in shape. So the next one with expectations is a big one, and it is a reason why people, quote unquote, fall off the wagon a hell of a lot. And it is expecting scale weight to come down at a consistent rate. Everyone I've ever worked with, and myself included, as you in a fat loss phase in particular, where you are concentrating on losing body fat, and obviously the scales are going to be one of the determining factors, not the only determining factor. When you have them days where you've done everything correctly, your food's been on point, your water's been on point, your sleep's been on point, your training's on point, you wake up the next morning and you weigh yourself and the scales have gone up slightly or they've held, it's so easy to get in your own head and think, fuck this, it doesn't work, what a load of bollocks. And then what happens is we end up binging, we end up having a drink, we end up thinking, oh, this doesn't work, we sack it off, and then a couple of days go by and you think, oh shit, what have I done? And then you have to get going again. And this is that on it or off it mentality, when simply the scale weight is just a piece of data. Track it, move on. That's why we look at the averages. That's why we look over the week. And then when you've got a good coach, that's when they make the adjustments for you. You cannot get emotional and allow your mood based on scale weight dictate the rest of your day. So that is general expectations. And I think the overarching thing there is people think it's going to be more simple than it actually is. And like I say, a lot of that comes from social media, in my opinion. So I'm just going to move that camera a little bit. There we go. Still getting used to that. Boom. So anyway, now we are going to move into the reality, and the reality of getting into shape and what it actually takes. So reality number one is quite an obvious one, and it is going to take time. It will take time to transform your physique. Now, what can be done in quite a short space of time when it comes to fat loss? A lot can be done. You do see some real dramatic changes, and the ones where people look really muscular after 8, 12 weeks, they tend to already have a good level of muscle there and actually look more muscular because they've pulled off the body fat, which has revealed the muscle they've already got there. But you are going to have to train consistently, not just when you feel like it, not just now and then, not, only when life is absolutely flying. You are going to have to train consistently, not just for days, not just for weeks, but if you want to get into great shape and feel absolutely awesome, it's going to have to be months and it's going to have to be years, and you are going to have to get that firmly into your routine. So training is literally just something that you do. So the second reality, what I want to talk about here is, and this sounds like I'm being a party pooper, but you cannot just sack it off every weekend and expect to make fantastic changes. That is just the truth of the matter. If you're going out every weekend, drinking an absolute shitload, putting crap up your nose, eating absolute crap, but then doing really well Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, and then you're just undoing your work at the weekend, not just the physical sense, but also the mental sense as well, because what happens there is you end up feeling like crap Monday, Tuesday, and it takes a while to get back into the swing. And the thing is, you do see people that are out partying every weekend, that are jacked, do look fantastic, but the thing is, they're usually getting smashed at the weekend, they're usually doing other stuff, and they're usually taking gear as well, which helps them get into that position, and they're putting a hell of a lot of strain on themselves. But if you're wanting to do it the right way, get yourself into fantastic shape, you are going to have to be consistent at weekends as well, when it comes around your nutrition, when it comes around, you know, with your training and everything like that. Something I do at weekends sometimes is I still stick within my calories, but I sometimes go with different foods just to mix it up a little bit. But you are going to have to be consistent. Like I say, again, it's not living like a monk, but there are certain things that you will have to follow, and you will have to follow consistently to get the results that you want. Reality number 3, you are going to be hungry at times. When you're in a calorie deficit and you're looking to lose body fat, you are going to be hungry. That hunger is a signal that your body needs more energy to get you through the day. And essentially, burning fat is your body's way of using that stored energy. So you are going to be hungry, and you have to accept that. And people make it out that, you know, when you're in a calorie deficit, if you do it this way, you're not going to be hungry. The only way that you're not going to be hungry is if you're slamming Ozempic, and I don't recommend that. I don't know enough about it. I'm not interested in knowing enough about it. But I'm telling you now, you are going to be hungry at times. That is the reality of the situation. But the thing is, when you actually lean into that hunger and you start to see the changes, not just on the scales, but on the physique as well, it makes it so much more worth it. But that is reality. You're not going to have to starve yourself forever. But for this period of time, when you're pulling off body fat, there are going to be times when you are going to be hungry. Reality number 4, your body does not care what you've got going on. Your body doesn't care if your boss has been a dick at work. Your body doesn't care if you're stressed out, if you're tired, if you're bored, if you're lonely. Your body is going to respond to what you are putting into it and what output you are putting in as well. So if you're someone that only gets things done when they're in a great mood and other things aren't affecting them, then long term you're not going to get the results. If you literally don't get the things done when you're stressed, when you're tired, there are examples when you do have to take a few days off when something truly bad really happens. But there are going to have to be times, if you want to get to where you want to get to, where you are going to have to do it when you're stressed, when you're pissed off, when you're annoyed, when you're hungry, when you're tired. That is, like I say, expectations versus reality. That is the reality of the situation. Your body doesn't care what you've got going on in your personal life. If you want to hit these goals, there are going to be times when you're going to have to do it when you really don't want to. And reality number 5, and this goes into the expectations part of things. Your weight will fluctuate. Whether you are in a fat loss phase, whether you're in a muscle building phase, your weight will fluctuate. There's so many different factors that play into this. It could be your sleep, it could be your stress, it could be, you know, your bowel movements, it could be salt intake, it could be water retention. There's so many different reasons why weight goes up and down each day, and you've got to take that, you know, into consideration. You can't allow your mood, you know, to be dictated by the scale weight, like I mentioned before. However, the averages don't lie. After a couple of weeks, if you've been in a calorie deficit but your weight hasn't gone down, chances are you've been doing what we spoke about before, and that's having a little bit more food at a weekend, having a few drinks at the weekend. And what that has done is that has pulled you out of your calorie deficit on average, and the weight has stayed the same. Now, there are some instances where you've just got to that point where it plateaus, and then that is when you do make the changes. That's when you do pull the calories down or you put the output out more. But them averages are not going to lie. So there we have it. That is expectations versus reality. And I think the whole overarching message to come from this is getting into shape is not as easy as what people will make out on TikTok, what they'll make out on social media. It does take time, it takes effort, it takes commitment, it takes having a firm goal and working towards it, holding yourself accountable, saying no to the foods that you quote unquote love at times. But if you can do this and you do start to see the changes, you will start to feel better in yourself, you'll start to feel more confident, and you'll start to feel great. And when you start building that momentum, going into the gym becomes more fun, and seeing them changes becomes more fun. That's the way it is for me, that's the way it is for my clients. Like, again, I don't expect people to be perfect, I don't expect people to live like a monk, but you do have to take ownership of that. So thank you so much for watching the video. If you did like this video, and if you did take something away from it, please put it in the comment sections. Please drop a like, please subscribe, share, whatever that may be. Thank you so much for watching, and check out next week's video.